Hi, it's Larry Herbeck's Boxes, Major Nelson. Welcome to the show. We've got another podcast here. We've got Jeff, who's over there in the other box. Hi, Jeff. Where are you?
Hi. I am, for the first time in over a year, working from the office.
Right.
Where, as you can see, this beautiful office.
Hold on a minute. Let's go full screen and look. Wow, look at that.
Okay. Yeah. So we're in the middle of moving. My house is a disaster. I literally can't even get to my desk. So I was like, I'll bring everything in. It'll set right up. But, it takes a little while. Now, here's the thing I want you to know.
Yes.
When you see Phil and he's in his office, people start looking in the background. Like,
by the way, that's not his office. That's his wife's office. A lot of people don't know that. I call it the beige cave.
Well, there's that one, but then sometimes he's in his actual office, right, and people start looking for figurines or whatever in the background. So here we've got a box of tissues, I think.
Right there.
It's Aaron's desk. It was a bottle of champagne. So good weekend for me. There's a Rainbow Dash figurine, I think.
By the way, do you know what's over your...
There's no secrets.
You know what's over your left shoulder?
What?
My desk.
Oh, yes. So if you were always wondering where Larry sits, he's right behind me, usually in that corner, usually slinging, insults or whatever. Or actually, remember what you used to do that I do not miss at all. And you know what I'm going to say.
Yes.
Is I'll be typing something or doing something or stretching, because I would just like
or have a conversation with somebody behind you.
And you would take a picture from behind me and post it without my consent. And
on Twitter,
I don't, generally good-natured, I will say, don't miss it.
Okay, but I appreciate that.
Enough. Welcome to the office.
Well, we do have a little. First of all, that's why I wanted to go to that. Let's go back in here. A couple things. Rebecca is off this week. She and Pumbaa are doing. I don't know what's going on, but she said she's
visiting family.
Visiting family. So I don't. Pumbaa's family or Rebecca's family. I don't know. So either way,
it's a great question.
So so Jeff and I were talking like, wow, we love having Rebecca on. We've always had I rebuilt the entire show to have a third slot. Jeff, who should we get on? And that's when I went to you and said, what should we do here?
So we were talking about it, and so part of my job is working with podcasters for a living. And a lot of times, if you see someone like
not just me,
or Jason Ronald, or Phil Spencer, or Sarah Bond on a podcast, chances are I had something to do with that little sort of booking type of thing. And just last week, Jason Ronald, talking about FPS Boost and a number of other things, was on a great podcast called Spawn on Me.
Oh yeah,
and I was listening to that podcast, and which is hosted by Khalif Adams. And I'm like, this guy is an amazing interviewer. And we've had a few folks. Chris Charla was on there.
Yeah.
Sarah Bond was on there, I want to say last year or early this year. And I just kept being impressed by good interviewers. They don't just, think about what's top of mind. They get behind get behind the eyes and figure out sort of what makes this person tick and what's great about them. And that's something that Khalif is awesome at doing. So I asked him, would you be willing to join the Xbox podcast?
Guest co-host. So, ladies and gentlemen, let me hit this button. We're gonna hang on, because we're gonna rearrange some boxes here so we can bring him in here, because it's a big talent. Here we go.
Hold on tight.
Khalif,
hey!
Good to see you, my friend.
Hey, gents! Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here, and Jeff, you have me in the green room blushing already early this morning with such kind words for me in the show. So thank you so much. And again, I'm excited to rock with you. I've been a big fan of both of you for a very long time. So getting a chance to do this definitely checks off a bucket list item for me.
Well, as Jeff was saying, Khalif, when he came to me and said, why don't we get Khalif on? I'm like, can we? Do you think he'd do it? And so I was so excited to have you here, and it's such a pleasure. I mean, Rebecca's out, so we figure we'll bring in, we'll kind of maybe do this every now and then. If Jeff's out, we'll bring somebody else in. But I want to start reaching out to the community, and you're the very first guest co-host to come on.
God.
So let's welcome. So.
Yes,
oh, that's so wild to know that I'm breaking barriers. I'm taking it on every day. That's fantastic. So again, thank you so much for having me. Again, a big fan of all the work that you both do, and this is super cool to get a chance to do this with you all. So I'm ready to rock. Let's get it in.
Well, before we get going, we're going to do it. We'll do it at the end as well. But why don't you just tell people? I mean, I got some stuff up here on screen where they find you on social. But Jeff mentioned your podcast. Where do they find your podcast?
Yeah, we're on every platform at this point. We're part of the Fanbyte network, a part of their massive suite of podcasts. I've been doing Spawn on Me for about 8 years now.
Yeah.
We're about to hit our 400th episode fairly soon.
Well done.
Thank you. It's been an interesting 8 years. Who knew that we'd still be around this long, kicking and screaming our way into podcasting fame, if that's where we're ever going to get. But it's been amazing. We've been kind of starting this process of, trying to spotlight people of color and marginalized folks in the video game industry, because that was the thing that when I started this process and started this with my former co-hosts, was the thing that just wasn't in the space. It wasn't a part of the ecosystem in the way that we talk about games media and talking about it through this prism of our life and through the ways that we kind of see the world. So it's been fantastic to be able to kind of work with you all and have wonderful folks on the show, and been able to kind of broaden that conversation out for our audience and for all the folks in Xbox land. And it's been so cool to be able to do this work. It's a lot of fun.
Well, you very well put, and we appreciate all the work that you're doing over there. I mean, that's one of the things we're trying to do is shine the light on some of the great work that's being done in not just in the games industry, but in the kind of the areas and the industries that surround us, like yourself. So we're so excited. Maybe you know the format of the show. We talk about what we're playing. I got some interviews later on. Jeff may or may not have some news, so we'll see, right, Jeff?
Got news. Look, I'm in the center of news. There's no one else in this office, but I promise you, there is news this week.
That is a newsroom, but we usually start off by what we're playing. So I figured, Khalif, why don't you tell what's on your console? I mean, I know actually, I want to just show something real interesting, because I think this is the first time we've seen this before. Jeff, do you see what's over his right shoulder? Not only does he have a refrigerator and Xbox Series S, that's a PlayStation tucked in between the two.
Yeah. The fridge is only marginally taller. I should cut off.
I did get an email from someone. I did get an email from someone the other day who had seen the shot, and they said, "When did the Xbox Series X get bigger than the PlayStation 5?" And I was like, "Well, they have shrink rays and grow rays and ways they do that kind of stuff." But they were excited to see, the Xbox Series X Zoa.
And to be clear, so the reality is, there's so many games in Game Pass, we had to make the console bigger. No, that's not true at all. No, that's actually a limited edition special refrigerator that Jeff and his team sent out to a bunch of influencers. So that's so if we open it, what's in there? Do you have anything in there?
There's a couple of cans of Zoa in there right now, actually.
Okay.
So they're on ice, as so to speak, and it was cool because it was the first time I got a chance to have correspondence with The Rock on Twitter, which was nuts.
Right.
It was super cool.
That was great. He was very active, replying to folks. And you have the glasses I see on the top, the one eyebrow up aviators.
Oh, I lost my mind.
Yeah.
I had a friend. My wife's friend was like, "Did you know that your husband is talking to The Rock on Twitter?" And I was like,
NBD.
Wait a minute, is that actually The Rock? Like, it's actually The Rock. That's so wild. So yeah, it's super cool. It is now the cornerstone of our sponsor desk. So it's super cool to have that in here and rocking with it. So it was fun.
Well, I want to thank you because
what I'm playing.
Let's talk about what you're playing.
Oh, I forgot to talk about that. So I've finished Returnal, which was fantastic and super fun on PlayStation. And then I've just finished up Resident Evil 8, Resident Evil Village, and that was so good. I'm a huge horror fan, so getting a chance to run through that and get a chance to play it and just be disgusted and in awe of all the wonderful things Capcom was able to put into that game, it was brilliant and definitely at one of my kind of in the higher ups in my game of the year discussions already halfway through the year. So those are a couple of games I've been running through, and of course I've been playing a lot of MLB The Show. So I've been digging back in there.
Available on Game Pass.
Available on Game Pass. My Bricago biscuits are doing well. That's the name of my team, and they have been doing all right. My Road to the Show character is learning and failing often, but he's trying to get himself there into the majors and at least in the AAA at this point, because he's still in double. So we're trying to make sure he gets into the league. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun, a lot of good stuff on the plate right now.
Awesome. That's great.
Did you build your own stadium? And if so, is there a barbecue place and who's on the grill? That's what I want to know. Because if you're playing
the real questions.
I haven't dug into the stadium builder yet. But it'll probably have like a little bit of Citi Field feel to it because I'm a big Mets fan. So it is
You're a Mets
blasphemous
fan.
for me to say
Right
that.
here, you and I
It's
are Mets
blasphemous.
fans. Oh, I love that.
See, I appreciate you. See, this is
love
great.
that,
It is blasphemous for me to say that because I'm from the Bronx originally. So Yankees fans get mad at me for saying that out loud, but it's true. I'm a Mets fan. I've been an Amazins fan since they won the World Series back in what, 85 or something like that.
I remember that.
Something like that.
Timmy Tuffle shuffle. I remember
86.
Yeah.
86.
86? Yeah, Dallas Strawberry,
86.
man.
That was
long
when they
stride.
beat the Red Sox. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
No, so
Yeah.
when you build your
Yeah.
stadium, though, would it be safe to say there would be like a Paris Lilies, barbecue or something like that? Will that be a thing? I always see the two of you going back and forth on who's a better griller, and I just think that's.
I'd like to make a
funny. And
request. I'd actually
Go
like
on.
Khalif,
Yes.
when you build your stadium, would you make it in the shape of a grill? Like this,
If I could.
right? The whole, just make the whole thing a big grill.
I have to go see if I can get the folks from SDS to let me know if I can actually do that. They may have to put some assets in there and make that happen. I will say this though, there won't be a grill in the stadium, but if you are a fan of the Hitman 3 series and Hitman games, this month we're going to be featuring some contracts. They're going to do some featured Spawn and Me contracts in there. And one of them may have some grill conversations or conversations around food in Paris in it. So you
There you
may
go.
want to
Exclusive.
for that.
And that will become canon in the Hitman universe. So that he can't. How was he going to respond to that? That's all right. We'll leave
I
it
mean,
at that
we'll see because
not
it
be
won't go. It
surprised.
won't go out until probably the 20th or so. So he'll probably hear this before that,
Right.
so he'll know what's coming. But it'll.
He
be
won't.
fun to
But he
see it.
really won't know what's coming, right?
Oh, I really hope. Like we won't tell him that it's going to be a thing, but it'll be a thing.
Yeah, that's great.
We need to
Awesome.
put a bounty out for a screenshot of that. But let's talk about RE Village. I've been playing that, and I'm not anywhere near done mostly because I need to play it in 20-minute increments because something crazy will happen, and then I'm like, I get to save the game, and I'm like, I need a break. And by the way, this is maybe the first time I've really been like, thank God for quick resume. Because there are times where I can't get to a save point. I just hit pause and I just turn it off and I need to walk away because this game is intense. And I'm very glad that I could step away and come back when I'm ready because I'm being stalked through the castle by Lady Dimitrescu. Honestly, I thought that would be a dream come true on some level, but
It's actually a nightmare.
Maybe not. It's actually a nightmare.
Yeah, it's interesting, Jeff, because MLB, you talked about MLB, Khalif, that supports quick resume. Resident Evil Village supports quick resume, so we got some good stuff there. If you're getting back in as quick as possible. I mean, I love it. So, Jeff, what you talked about? It's funny. I have Resident Evil downloaded. I haven't even pressed A yet to start it because you've been talking it up and
all right
about it.
So let me give you the chicken's guide to Resident Evil Village.
Wait a minute. Are you judging? Are you judging?
No. Oh, no, this is from firsthand experience.
Okay.
All right. So I'm going to tell you, so I've always loved the Resident Evil games. They've always scared the hell out of me. But once they went into first person with Resident Evil 7,
Right.
it was too much. Like it was just too much. But then I'll be honest, I got caught up in the hype with Village. The marketing's been like on point. I was like, you know what? I have to just like suck it up and I'm going to play even though I know I'm going to be scared. And by the way, completely delivered, like very, like in the first 15 minutes, like where I was freaking out. But all right, so I'm playing with, and look, you can judge me all you want, but it is what it is. Daytime, shades are wide open. Just wide. I've turned that brightness slider. How far to the right? It's all the way to 11. Not using headphones, and in fact, I'm having it come through my TV, and it's on like 10 out of 50 volume. All right. I just like, because all these little cracks, the sound design's phenomenal. So every little crack of like a branch, I literally jumping. Like there's an early point, like well before you even face anybody. And like you're going through a house and it was just like the cabinet moved and I almost dropped the controller. I dropped it to easy level. I'm not going to lie because normally most games I play on normal.
Right.
And
default.
the first Lycan that I encountered took 14 shots to drop with at least 5 headshots in that mix. And I was like,
so your clip was empty.
The game is going to be scary. I don't want to be stressed out over resource management. I kind of just want to like it. This game is almost like a theme park for horror. There's like, you go to Disneyland, there's Tomorrowland and Fantasyland and Adventureland.
Something for everybody.
Like Vampire Land and, like a couple of different, different like biomes, biomes of horror. And I kind of want to go along for the ride. I don't want to have to be stressed on top of it. Now,
no.
The look I can see on your face, Khalif, is like you are playing this game all wrong, and I totally get it. But it's the only way I'm gonna get through. Yeah, but it can be
no
done,
judgment,
Larry, because I know you're
no
not
judgment at all. I probably played it in the complete opposite way. Dark room, everything super loud,
headphones on,
waiting for everything to hit me. Headphones on, it's just like waiting for stuff to go down. But you're right. It is one of those like super ridiculous, amazingly wild rides that you're just like, I don't know what to expect next, but everything is happening at once, and I need to figure out ways to kind of mitigate that and manage it in a good way so I don't freak myself out every 2 minutes. But it is a fantastic ride. I'm excited for you to check it out, Larry, because I think there's going to be interesting spaces there for you. Are you a horror fan, or are you kind of like horror adjacent?
I'll duck in to see what all the buzz is about, but I have zero. I just jump scares are like I got enough in my life. I don't need that.
You beat Alien Isolation, right?
But my connection to that level of horror was because I love the Alien franchise. So that's what pulled me in. Not that I don't like Resident Evil franchise, but it just never pulled me in like the movies did and so forth. So that's so. I mean, I'll give it a try. It's up here. I promise. So
you should at least give it the first hour or so, and you'll get a nice feel for some of the things this game will throw at you. By the way, can we just talk about Ethan's pain tolerance? Because like I get a paper cut and I'm looking for a Band-Aid, and the things that happen to this guy just in the first hour. Somebody actually I saw on Twitter put together like an Excel sheet of all the things that just happened to him in Castle Dimitrescu. It was like, how like after a certain that goes A, B, and then it gets into like double A, like once you get past 26, it was like that many things. And that's like one area of the game. It was Wolverine did not go through this much stuff in like all of the X-Men movies put together.
Yeah, there's many conversations about hands when it comes to Ethan in that conversation. So I won't talk about it because I don't want to spoil it for Larry, but lots of conversations about how that works and what that means for that character in that story. And you're absolutely right, Jeff. That man is tortured as a tortured soul, both in his soul and in his actual body. It's just unreasonable what they do to that man.
All right. What else you playing, Jeffrey?
Yeah. Oh, I finally, after I calculated 98 and 1/4 hours, beat like the real ending of Dragon Quest 11S.
98 hours?
Definitive version. It's amazing. I love this. Look, if you like a classic RPG, and I played the first RPG I ever played was the original Dragon Quest, which was called Dragon Warrior back on NES. And there's like a lot of like throwbacks to it. You actually get to play certain scenes from it if you choose to that are sort of optional content. And I just enjoyed this game all the way through. And I think we talked about this before. I was like, you see the credits the first time? That's a speed bump. That lets you know you're 2/3 done the actual game.
Yeah.
And I cleaned up all the different things. I sort of finished all the storylines. This game, if you play it the way it can be played, you can tie up every loose end, and there's just a lot of thoughtfulness. Seeds that are planted 50 hours ago come to bloom later. I just think that was just a genius game. It was really great. And after that, when I'm calming down from Resident Evil, I'm into Judgment remastered by the makers of Yakuza RGG Studios. It's like I'm learning a lot about the Japanese court system. apparently the conviction rate is 99.9%, which is very interesting.
Yeah.
So next time I'm in Japan, I will be a much better behavior.
That's why
than I
the
have been in the past.
That's why. What was the was it Nissan? Remember the CEO of Nissan? He was smuggled out of Japan in like a cello case or something because he knew that it was the writing was on the wall, regardless of what happened. I mean, it's crazy. But I'm glad you're learning more about Japanese culture, Jeffrey.
And of course, after we had Hosokawa-san from our GT studio joined us from Tokyo a couple of weeks ago, which was awesome. And he was teasing there was a countdown timer, and that countdown timer led to a great announcement, which was Last Judgment, the sequel to Judgment, which will be out on Xbox Series X and S. And Xbox One, actually, I want to say in the fall. I don't want to get the date wrong, but maybe September. So if you've been enjoying Judgment, know that you're on the clock, because 4 months from now, we get another one. So I just, as someone who's discovered the Yakuza series over the course of the last year, being able to
Discovered is putting it lightly.
An endless source of content.
Discovered is putting it lightly. I would say embracing, immersed.
I just love. It's like so. I have like some friends who have just gotten into like different shows. Like a lot of people have been discovering things, but Ted Lasso. Did either of you watch Ted Lasso on Apple TV?
I have not.
I keep hearing good things about it.
Even if you don't like soccer, you got to watch it. It's about an American a football coach who goes over and ends up coaching in England. And it's just like a heartwarming show. And it just, everyone who watches it falls in love with it. And like people I'm seeing like have discovered in the last couple of weeks, it's like, guess what? Season 2 is in like next month. So, it's just like that sort of like that awesome feeling. Like I found something great and there's more of it that is continuing to come. And that's me with the Yakuza series. I don't know if Khalif, if you've ever gotten into it, Larry, he just lives vicariously through me.
Because I don't need to. I feel like you're giving so much. You're playing enough for 10 people.
That might be true.
I played a bit of the most recent one, which is brilliant. It's super, super cool. That's my first foray into the series. So it feels like a good place to start as a new Yakuza player, but also there's so much lore about all the players involved that I feel like I need to go back now and check out some of the stuff in that space too. So it's super fun. It's wacky, it's nuts, but it's cool.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
If you played Like a Dragon, if that was the one you played, it's a great starting point. It's that's actually why I play Dragon Quest, because they're always talking about Dragon Quest in that game, and so it sort of reverse psychologied me, and I ended up playing Dragon Quest afterwards, which was the right call. It's part of Game Pass, by the way. You should absolutely check that out. Dragon Quest is. So Like a Dragon, they also announced alongside Last Judgment that they're going to keep it in the turn-based. So if you really liked Like a Dragon, it's going to stay as an RPG as opposed to a brawler. The brawling happens in the Judgment franchise. I thought that announcement was very well received by me because I loved Like a Dragon. I was hoping it wouldn't be.
And really, that's all that matters when it comes to this.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. Is there a dig in there, Larry? Because I totally agree with that statement.
No, I'm just saying it's because at the end of the day that you're such a we talked about this, Cleve. He's a Judgment and Yakuza influencer. So that's
is this true, Jeff? I didn't know this.
Self-proclaimed. Okay. Self-proclaimed. I think the real Judgment influencer and Yakuza influencer is Brittany, a blonde nerd, who really sort of, is very active on Twitter about the series at all times, and Resident Evil for that matter. And she encouraged me to play both of them, and
here we are.
Not led me astray yet. Yes.
Well, we gotta get moving along here. We've got some interviews coming up, but I just want to say you can't see on the screen behind me. Doom Eternal. I finally finished it. I've been playing it. I've been playing it for about a year, and I just not nonstop. But Khalif, you play this? This game is hard. This is not easy.
I love that game.
Yeah.
I love that game. It is so good. It is very, very hard though.
Yeah.
It's interesting because the conversations are like, which one is harder, Returnal or Doom Eternal?
Right.
And to be fair, Doom Eternal for me was much harder than Returnal was. It's wild. Yeah.
I'm glad I finally finished that, and I'm actually, to your point, I'm going back and kind of going through some of the chapters now that I finished it and trying to pick up some of the collectibles. So that was my big deal this week, is I finally finally finished that after it's been about a year, on and off playing it. So because it's just I got to a couple of these levels, Khalif, because you got to do a lot of the acrobatics to get around and whatnot. Yeah. And I was like, I gotta take a break, and I would go back and play it for 2 hours. Couldn't get past. Finally got past it. So anyway, Yay!
Congrats!
Thank you. Done. Thank you very much, Jeff. We got some interviews queued up here. I don't know if you want to bring us into the interviews so we can get cooking along here.
Yeah. Well, why don't we do that? First, I know we wanted to talk about National Mental Health Day. So we've been talking with Tara Volker from Microsoft about that. And then we're going to be talking games. So why don't we get straight to the interview?
May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and Xbox is amplifying voices of empathy, honesty, and mental health awareness. Joining me today is Team Xbox member Tara Volker, who's the Gaming and Disability Co-Lead. Tara, welcome to the show, and nice to chat with you.
Hello, I'm so excited to be here today.
Yeah, this is exciting. I mean, as I said earlier, May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and it's also we've got Accessibility Awareness Day coming up as well, right? Because those are two areas that you kind of work within.
Yes. So the third Thursday of every month is every May every year is Global Accessibility Awareness Day, or GAAD, GAAD, as you'll see it on social media.
Great. Now you've got a blog post that's up on Xbox Wire at news.xbox.com talking about Mental Health Awareness Day and Accessibility Awareness Day. Tell us a little bit about what the post says and what you do at Xbox.
One of the things that's really important during May and Mental Health Awareness Month is literally just talking about mental health and the benefits of gaming. In the blog, I go on to talk about how important, especially during the pandemic, gaming can be for mental health. We talked about gaming provided a great distraction for 82.9, and it was 90% of people who responded to survey, that it helps with emotional stress, that it's helped relieve physical pain, and that there's tons of benefits. Like, I personally have benefited from gaming helping me with my PTSD, and it's really important to share those stories, make it normal, but also go through and highlight games that are doing great depictions of those struggling with mental health, because, it needs to be more normalized. Everyone wants to see themselves in a video game. And for some of us, it's, having a mental health struggle.
I want to back up a little bit and talk about your journey to Xbox. Tell us how you ended up as, at Team Xbox as the Gaming and Disability Co-Lead.
Yeah, it was a little bit of a winding route to get here. I'm gonna be honest. Xbox poached me from PlayStation. So I was working at PlayStation, and actually a recruiter had reached out to me about possible openings like Xbox, because we want to have a diverse workforce and we want to champion things like accessibility and inclusion in underrepresented communities. Like, we recruit people in that space, and so I was reached out to, and. Oh, here's my cat, Leon.
Oh, hello, Leon. Goodbye, Leon.
So I was reached out to, and, I was really happy at PlayStation. I was getting to do some cool accessibility things. But to be honest, the Gaming for Everyone program had just launched, and I had friends who worked at Xbox and were telling me more about all of the work that happens with the Gaming for Everyone program internally, about making sure that we're not only capturing all of these underrepresented groups, but having Xbox be a better place to work for them, so we have better retention. And basically the person who was the co-lead at the time was just like, if you come here, you could team up with me, we could figure out what we could do. And after hearing about the Gaming for Everyone program and knowing I could be involved, I was like, I gotta go. This is it. This is what I need to do.
Well, first of all, a welcome. I mean, I know you've been here for quite some time, but I want to say welcome. I know it's you and I haven't met in person, only virtually and electronically, so it's great to have you on the team and doing the work. You talked a moment ago about the extraordinary number of people, especially in during the pandemic, that have turned to gaming for solace and mental relief and kind of keep themselves well. Let's talk a little bit about mental health within games, because that's also an interesting angle as well, right? Tell me about that.
Yeah, so for a long time in gaming, it's not been a great representation, actually. You see a lot of kind of, someone has a moment that makes them snap and then they become a villain. And that was for a long time the only representation of mental health in video games. And, it's not something you really want to see. Like, you don't want that character to be the one that you're most connected with.
Right.
But, recently in the past few years with games like Hellblade in particular for Ninja Theory and Psychonauts 2, we're starting to see games that are exploring it in a real way, but also embracing this accessibility notion of nothing about us without us. I mean, one of the reasons that Senua's Sacrifice touched so many people was the work they did to accurately represent what having a psychosis was like. They had an idea. They brought it to both experts in the field and people who suffer from psychosis. And they were just like, whoa, you guys are totally going the wrong direction. Here's what it's like. Here's what I experienced. They brought that back, worked on it, and then, brought it to the people. And they were like, wow, this is it. I see myself in game now. And that's really powerful, especially for a group that, like I said, the only representation out there was both inaccurate and kind of terrifying.
Yeah. We talk about the in-game, and that's certainly great. I mean, who didn't love Hellblade? I mean, it was an amazing game, but you're right. It also surfaced some of these other issues, and maybe helped some folks realize that I'm not alone with some of the issues that I may be struggling with, and B, here's a character or a set of characters that I may identify with. One of the other areas you talk about in the blog post for Xbox Mental Health Awareness, well, it's Mental Health Awareness Month at Xbox, is we've got a lot of activity, is online safety. Tell us a little bit about online safety in the crisis text line.
Yeah, so one of the things that happens is you may be struggling, you may not know who to talk to, and sometimes talking to someone can be frankly terrifying. And so we've partnered with the Crisis Text Line to give a really easy way for you to just reach out and get help from a certified counselor who will be able to help you. It's a nonprofit organization. It's free, text-based 24/7 support. And so, if you need a crisis counselor and you aren't sure where to go, we want to help you get the help you need, so you can just reach out via that hotline.
Yeah, it's important to point out that, as I said earlier, is that some people may be struggling with issues. They may not know what it is or be able to identify what it is. And they're like, they don't know who to turn to or who to ask. So it's great that we've got some of these resources out there. There's a lot of other elements. We talked about it being Mental Health Awareness Month, but Accessibility Awareness Day, we're going to be playing some games as well, right? That's going to be, depending upon when you're listening to this later on in the month. Tell us about the date and what y'all are going to be playing and where to find that.
Yeah, so we have, first off, we're going to be having some cool things that are going to be, that we're going to talk about in an upcoming Wire post. By the time this comes out, we will have announced a new feature that's actually going to be in a preview in our Insider Ring. So keep a lookout for that. I don't want to mess it up. Global Party Chat Text Speech Synthesis.
Okay.
It's in the Insider Ring because this doesn't come out till later. So it'll be out.
That's a lot of words, but explain to us what the feature is.
Yeah, so this is actually really exciting. So if we were talking on Xbox Live like Party Chat, let's say I were deaf or hard of hearing, there wouldn't really be a way for me to know what you're saying. With this feature, it will take the words you're saying verbally and put them to text for me to read in Party Chat. We've had it before in select games, but this is going to be Party Chat global. You don't actually have to be in a game. This is going to be global launch. So pretty excited about that one.
I mean, that helps not only, from an accessibility standpoint, folks that perhaps, need some assistance there, but it's also perhaps people that maybe want to learn English as a second language or anything like that. It just helps everybody, right?
It is. I mean, that's the great thing about so many of these accessibility features. At Microsoft, we have the solve for one, extend to many of inclusive design. But we have a lot of stuff going on. So you'll see it in that blog post. And then we are also going to be doing a live stream featuring me and Steve Saylor. You may have seen him at the Ability Summit recently doing the keynote with the one and only Phil Spencer.
Yes.
We're going to be talking about accessibility. We're going to be playing some games. We're still trying to pick exactly which one we want to play. Last time we did something like this, we played Sea of Thieves, and I accidentally blew everyone up with a barrel. So we may have to go into different
Tara, it's important to know, Tara, that's not. I mean, I know it's an accident, but that's kind of a rite of passage when you're playing Sea of Thieves.
Yeah, no, I just did it on a huge Global Accessibility Day live stream with some really well-respected accessibility advocates and pioneers.
Oops.
So that It happens.
It happens. I mean, we all play games, and that's the beautiful part about playing the games. Especially live streaming, is anything can happen. One of the other areas that you touch on in the blog post, and again, I'll have a link in the show notes and for my podcast and for people to go out and take a look at it. But we talk about Microsoft Rewards. Now, that's one that people go like, "Wait, what?" So explain that, because that's an interesting program.
I am really excited about this one. So basically, as you go and you get points through the Microsoft Reward Program. So this is members in the United States. You can donate those points to organizations for charity. And so we have 2 different charities that we're partnering with for this month. Take This, which is all about decreasing stigma and increasing support for mental health, particularly for the gaming enthusiast community and those who work in video games, but also Checkpoint, which again provides mental health resources for gaming and the gaming community. So using your Microsoft Reward points, you'll be able to donate them to either of those charities. So that's really, really exciting.
I want to point something out, is that, Mental Health Awareness Month is May right now, and which is a great opportunity, but there's work that happens that you do all year long. This is just a fraction, a moment in time. Tell us about the work that you do across the group and across Team Xbox.
Yeah, so when I'm not being a community lead for the Gaming for Everyone program, I'm also an accessibility project manager. So I partner with organizations all over Xbox, from our studios to our marketing teams, to make everything we do more accessible and more inclusive. Most recently, I was working on our GameStack Live event, and that was really exciting. And I got to work on our Age of Empires preview event.
Right.
I was super excited about, because normally I normally don't get to work on any of these events. I just have to show up as another fan of stuff. So being able to work on that was really exciting.
Welcome behind the curtain.
It is I've never been on the event planning side of stuff. It's new and exciting.
Yeah.
But also working on other stuff, like helping our party chat text speech, get out, and really just trying to make everything in the Xbox ecosystem better for people with disabilities, whether it's, making sure that people who maybe need trigger warnings for mental health get what they need, to making sure games have remappable controls, a little bit of everything. It's a really exciting space because there's a million things to do, and I get to work with everyone.
I want to point out that if they want to find you on social media, I've got it up on the screen right now. How do they find you? I'll let you say it verbally for those folks that aren't watching.
Yes, it's Lady Au Pair, LADIEAUPAIR.
Excellent.
That only makes sense if you're a fan of Venture Brothers from a million years ago.
Well, I will make sure that I'll tag you on social media when I put this out there so they can follow you as well. Tara Volka, gaming and disability co-lead here at Xbox, got a great blog post up on Xbox Wire about Mental Health Awareness Month, which is May, which is happening right now. And Accessibility Awareness Day, which is later on. Tara, thanks so much for all the work that you do and your time today. And I'm sure people will be hitting you up if they have any questions. Thank you.
No, thanks. Thanks for having me and spreading the message both about mental health awareness and accessibility. It really does mean a lot.
Out now is Subnautica Below Zero, and joining me is David Kalina, who is the project lead on the game. David, thanks for joining us.
Thanks so much for having me.
Really excited to talk to you. As I just said a moment ago, it ships as I post this show. And folks are excited about Subnautica because it's the follow-up to 2018, which was, I was reading up on it. I forgot it actually won quite a few awards. So congratulations on that. And then, of course, the follow-up.
Thank you. That's right.
Tell us a little bit about the game and what we can expect in Subnautica Below Zero.
Right. So Subnautica Below Zero is what some might call an open world survival craft game. It's an adventure that takes place on an alien planet, mostly underwater. So you're exploring this unfamiliar environment. You're trying to survive underneath the surface of the water and also above in some cases. Basically, you play as this character, a xenobiologist named Robin Ayu, who comes to the planet looking for information about what happened to her sister, who died on a previous mission in this sector. So along the way, you explore the world, discover new biomes, all kinds of exotic alien creatures. Scan things to unlock recipes and build vehicles and explore deeper and deeper. Along the way, you'll meet an alien intelligence who's locked away in cold storage. His name is Alan. He ends up downloaded into your brain, and and you go on this grand adventure on Planet 4546b.
Now it's funny, I played some Subnautica, the original one that came out, as I said, a few years ago, and I'm a scuba diver, so I loved it, and I love, I love being underwater. So this was, when I started playing Below Zero, I don't want to give them any spoilers, but you don't start out underwater, you have to get there, and you get there pretty quickly. But it's a beautiful world you've crafted. Tell us about some of the gameplay improvements from the Subnautica to Subnautica Below Zero.
Yeah, so Subnautica Below Zero is built on the Subnautica foundation, so a lot of the core gameplay is very familiar to fans of the franchise. But in terms of improvements, we're really just trying to polish up the game in a number of different ways, make it more accessible, a little bit more user friendly. So that's everything from you can pin recipes now, so you don't have to write down every recipe on a little piece of paper and keep switching back and forth. There are new tools like the mineral detector that allow you to hone in on the location of ingredients that you need in the world. We have all new vehicles. Underwater, we have this modular submarine called the Sea Truck, where you unlock various Sea Truck modules and then kind of connect them sort of Lego-like in forming this larger submarine to your own design. There's a bunch of new base components for you to customize your bases and make them pretty and livable. So kind of across the board, we've tried to touch every little aspect of Subnautica and kind of bring it up a notch.
When you look at the game, and I've been playing it for quite a few hours now, it's behind me here. Would you classify this as an RPG, or how would you kind of paint the picture for those folks that are maybe new to the Subnautica franchise?
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's an RPG in the sense you're not developing a character or trying to level up or,
sure.
It's not stat based. You do play a character. The main systems are survival based.
Sure.
So you have a hunger meter and a thirst meter, and you're trying to make sure they don't go to zero. Since the game is predominantly underwater, actually, that one of the primary bits of tension comes from just trying to not run out of oxygen. So you have an oxygen tank. It only has so much. It's so fundamental. I look over it, but it's you have so much oxygen, so you can go only so deep. And along the way, you'll find, you'll unlock tanks with greater capacity and vehicles that help you go deeper. So you're always kind of pushing further out into this open world, increasing your range.
Yeah, I mean, that's the interesting part of the mechanic that I noticed is that you're absolutely, again, I said as a diver, that's one thing that you have to know when you're underwater is how much oxygen I have left in the tank. And that's the interesting part about this is that the way you kind of allow the player to explore the broader region is the discovering of these vehicles that allow you the range. So you kind of have to get comfortable and learn some of the basics quite close to your base. and then you kind of can kind of spread your arms out a little bit. Now, as you go through, I mean, there's a normal story here. So there's a lot going on here, but it's such a varied world. How have you been watching how when you're doing your play testing, how people approach their, how they approach unlocking the world?
Yeah, we do try to keep an eye on it. I mean, it's an open world and we try to very much not be prescriptive. I mean, we'll give you hints about places of interest, we'll put signals on your PDA, but there's no missions or objectives that are really explicitly defined. So it's kind of up to players to figure out where they want to go in the world next. The game starts in a particular location, and your drop pod, which is sort of your initial starter base, comes down from the sky and lands somewhere in a starting area. And from there, it's really open. We find we do actually keep track of where players are going, but it tends to be a number of different directions depending on personal interest.
One thing I noticed, at the top of the game, you have to make a very specific choice about how you're going to play that game mode. And can you explain the different modes that are available for folks when they decide to jump in here?
Yeah, so same as the original Subnautica, there's a basic survival mode where everything's turned on. It's the story mode with all the survival systems enabled. There's a freedom mode, which basically just disables hunger and thirst. So kind of facilitates play, like makes it so you're not managing, you're not always like looking for your next meal or for water. There's a creative mode, which is totally open-ended, no cost. The story is disabled, but you can basically just go anywhere. You can't drown. Just kind of experience the world, make of it what you want. And then there's a hardcore mode, which is basically one life. And if you die, the save game gets terminated. So
I noticed that
if you're
it
looking
felt
for a little extra tension.
a little, yeah. Just if you want to not, ratchet it up a little bit. Would you say that this game has a little bit more emphasis on storytelling than the first one? Because that kind of felt as I was going through this one. And I haven't finished it yet. In full disclosure.
Yeah, that's actually one of the key ways we differentiated from the first game. The first game had like what I like to call like a dead storyline. Like everything is, kind of happening in the background. It's there for you to discover, but your character doesn't have a speaking voice. Like you're kind of like an anonymous every person. Whereas in Below Zero, we decided like, okay, we want to try like putting the story front and center and driving the action a little bit with a living story. So there's only a couple of NPCs who are actually in the world who you meet and talk to. And the alien I alluded to earlier, kind of is present for a lot of the adventure. But yeah, there's also a much more substantial backstory about the Altera research operation that your sister was a part of. And all of that story is kind of embedded in the world. So you'll find PDA logs that you can pick up and hear like little snippets of conversation between the various scientists who were working in the space. And so you as a player can reconstruct the story by going through the open world and collecting these things and trying to figure it out.
One of the, you talked a little bit about some of the quality of life in-game elements that you worked on, like pinning some of the recipes and so forth. Tell us a little bit about some of the favorite elements of the original Subnautica that you brought forward or maybe refined a little bit.
That's interesting. What did we maintain? I mean, the basic tech tree unlock, exploration loop is very similar. So, I'm not sure how to answer that question. In many cases, like the team would decide like, well, we don't want to do exactly the same thing. So we're going to change up something. So like one of my favorite things in the original is the Sea Moth, which is like the zippy little one-person submarine.
Yep.
And a lot of people are really attached to the Cyclops, which is the massive submarine you got like more towards the late game. And we sort of replaced both of them with this more modular sea truck vehicle. So, in a lot of cases, we're just kind of looking to take that original formula and spin it in a slightly new way. So even stuff like progression, like the ingredients you use to unlock recipes along the way changes a little bit just to kind of keep things fresh and also more contextually appropriate.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's what people love is, I mean, there was so much love around the original one. So it's great to see that you guys looked at it and you didn't do a complete overhaul. You just evolved it, which is always great to see in the next version of the game. The one thing I want to point out is we talked about at the top of the interview is that this is now available as of May 14th, depending upon when you're listening to this show. And you're on pretty much every platform, right? You guys are on Windows, Mac, Switch, PlayStation 4 and 5, Xbox One, and Xbox Series X. That's a lot of platforms to ship right off the bat.
Yeah, it was pretty hairy the last few months for some members of the team trying to ship everywhere all at once. Didn't know that it was possible for our little group, but we had a lot of help from external. We had some third-party developers we worked with, our friends at Shiny Shoe, Unity. Yep. Got a lot of help from various QA teams. So it was, a lot of people pulled really hard. Let's
say it's a global effort, right?
Yeah, big time. And our team is global. Like I think at our peak we had 8 time zones represented across our team. For much of development, I was living in Melbourne, Australia, and we had people in Taiwan and Siberia, France, throughout the US. So it's kind of a fun, diverse team in that way.
Did that help you? I mean, I assume that you obviously were doing this throughout the pandemic as it continues here. What kind of challenges did you run into with the pandemic, or were you guys uniquely suited to kind of handle this remote working style?
Yeah, we had been doing remote work from prior to the pandemic. So that's sort of in the DNA of the company anyway. So very little change for us, which is strange because so much change for so many people in this world over the last year and a half. But for us, it was kind of business as usual. The one thing is that we would sometimes get together in person, and it's actually really important to us to get to know each other as people and not always be heads down
or just a digital image on a screen, right?
Yeah. This does start to feel a little dehumanizing after a while. So it's important to actually get together in person. Hopefully we'll be able to do that again soon.
Well, I want to congratulate you and the team. Subnautica Below Zero now available. We talked about all the different platforms, all the consoles it's available on, last gen and this gen. Of course, it's on Mac and it's on Windows. Subnautica Below Zero. David Kalina, you are the project lead. Congratulations on shipping the game, and thanks for your time today.
Thank you so much.
Larry, I'm so glad that you handled that interview because my feelings on diving in open water. Is there ever a game that has been made more for you than Subnautica?
I loved Khalif. Do you scuba dive? You've been underwater. You've been underwater. You all right?
I'm deathly afraid of the ocean.
Okay.
Thank you.
Never mind. Never mind.
But I have played some VR games that take you underwater and do that part, and those are amazing. But
do they still give you anxiety?
Scary.
Do they still give you anxiety when you got the VR and you're underwater?
A little bit, and it really depends on which kind of HMD you're using. But I think that to a certain extent, it's you still get that kind of claustrophobic
head-mounted
feeling.
Display for those of you kids that aren't hip. So
yeah. That's me bringing in work stuff into the thing. But it's like those kinds of feelings of that can being confined and not knowing how to kind of get out of the space like that absolutely translates in all these games. So it definitely feels that way.
See, now it's interesting because you say confined and get out of the space, whereas when you're underwater, for me, it's peaceful and you're able to kind of float. So I look at, I'm able to control my X and Y and Z axis effortlessly and so on and so forth. So I don't know. It's my happy place. One of my happy places.
Yeah.
I don't even like falling off the boat in Sea of Thieves. That gives me anxiety. And then you see this drone footage off the coast of Southern California that came out a couple of weeks ago. And it's oh no, the great whites are way closer than you think. And it was just a bunch. I guess they're just not as aggressive as Hollywood would have you believe.
Wouldn't you rather be underwater where you could see them as opposed to swimming on the top? I mean, at least when I'm underwater.
I'd rather be on the beach in a chair under an umbrella with a cold beer and saying, man, what the hell are they doing out there? That's where I would rather be. And talking to the lifeguard saying, I think I saw a fin out there. You should call him back in.
Well, if Roy Scheider has taught me anything, it's you take your tank and you shove it into the shark's mouth.
And then you shoot it.
Right.
You shoot it. This has been all about my fears this episode.
By the way, I do recreate I recreate my Roy Scheider every time I'm in Sea of Thieves and I'm shooting sharks. You son of... Anyway, it's a lot of fun there. Anyway, Jeff, we've got some news coming up here, and we got to get Khalif going because he's got to work on his own show, not just play around with us all morning. So,
of course. The mystery, Larry.
Yes.
The mystery of your background. Go full screen, Larry. I'm directing the director here. Go full screen.
Let's see if I can.
You didn't know I was going to ask that. There we go. So that background, people have been asking for. People noticed that you've had it up for a couple of weeks.
Yeah,
and that's something that you too will be able to get because we are now celebrating the 20th anniversary of Xbox. Can you believe it's been 20 years, Larry? 2001.
Well, I can because I've been here I wrote the blog post and I've been here for 17 of those 20. So yes, I can't believe it.
Oh yeah. Well, there you go. So there's a lot of information over on Xbox Wire and on MajorNelson.com about the 20th anniversary and what that means. But just in the sort of immediate phase, what we want to sort of let you know is that there's Xbox gear. So if you go to gear.xbox.com, there's some really cool. I expect that I'll be wearing that next week or the week after.
Yep.
There's a Fan Fest we would love for you to register for to participate in 20th anniversary Fan Fest activities, there's sweepstakes and stuff like that. Now, here's the customization stuff. So there's a new 20-year gamer pick that is out there, which I will be updating my Twitter account to very soon. And of course, my gamer pick as well. I've been here for a third of that time. I feel
You have.
I'm looking forward to doing that. But then we're going to be doing some streams on twitch.tv/Xbox, but then it's the background. That is what you're going to be able to start finding this on your Xbox. There was actually some new ones added very recently.
And it's all, by the way, it's also, there's an
look.
OG. It doesn't have as much motion. In fact, I don't think it has any motion for Xbox One as well. So it's not just Xbox Series X and S. So go check out your console. And that'll be rolling out over the next time. So if you don't have it, don't go to the internet or call support. Just chillax. You'll get an update and it'll be there.
Yeah, go to your custom profile or customized profile menu in your Xbox background. It's called The Original. And you'll be able to find that. So happy! I want to see Usher say "Happy Birthday, Xbox!" Like the
Happy Easter one.
Happy Easter, Xbox. Yes, exactly. Other news this week. So we had a big update begin to roll out. Our May update. Number of things in there. Quick resume. As you referenced earlier, Larry, getting better, quicker, more reliable. It is an absolute lifesaver and getting better than ever. There's a new feature. It had been much requested, is rolling out. And I want you to tell me about it because I don't fully know what it is. And that is pass-through audio. Can you explain that to us?
Yeah, pass-through audio is for those hardcore audio nerds, of which I am barely one. It takes some of the audio from like your Netflix app or your Disney Plus app, and the console doesn't do anything with it. It just passes it right through and out the HDMI so that you can put it into, so your TV or your receiver can kind of do the best thing it can do with it. So the console steps back and just says, I'm not going to process this. I don't know what this is. I'm just going to send it out there. So it's audio pass through. And this will enable in some cases, a higher quality audio experience, depending upon what your home configuration is. So that's really what it is.
Well, audiophiles, you can rejoice.
Yeah, AVS forums, guys. I know you're all over this one. So and girls.
So and when it comes to updates, if you want to try these things out earlier, I highly recommend you join the Xbox Insider Program. We're, of course, members.
You forgot one, Jeff. You forgot one.
What?
That's the nifty little quick resume at the top here.
Yeah.
So we now have...
Oh, yes. That's right.
So you can actually just go back into things and it will quick resume. I hope.
Yeah. People were asking for just a little more granular control over what resumes quickly.
Yeah.
And
to see what's in the quick resume state. Yeah.
Exactly. So there is, and you could close it out if you choose to do so, but just check out Xbox Wire. There's updates to the mobile apps, and there's also some conversation on what's coming next. So definitely worth checking that out. A couple of other just small updates I want to call out. DreamWorks has added How to Train Your Dragon DLC to Minecraft. I know my kid was very into that series of movies. I feel like there's at least 3 of them now. And so
it's How to Train Your Dragons.
Take off there's a whole world there. How to Train Your Dragons. Exactly. Destiny 2 has a really big update called Season of the Splicer that is live now. I don't know if you remember, and it depends, of people of a certain age may have played like the Super Nintendo or Genesis back in the day, Zombies Ate My Neighbors. But there's a version of that is coming to Xbox along with Ghoul Patrol, which first came out in like the mid 90s. And then the last thing I wanted to call out, this is a game that keeps coming up because people love it. One of the best shooter campaigns of all time, Titanfall 2, is on sale for $2.99. And it has that FPS boost. Good. So if you've got the suitable TV, as Larry does, and I don't know if you're rocking 120 hertz, Khalif, but this game is capable of supporting it. I'm still back here in 60 hertz land, and it still looks beautiful, but
60 hertz and fluorescent lights.
Look, this is like progression. I'm all the way on the left. I'm the before picture. And then as your life gets better, you move on closer to Khalif.
I bought a TV
fridge.
for my Xbox Series X. I got a new TV because I knew it was going to push 120.
Yeah.
So we got to get you hooked up, Jeff. We got to get you some of that
I'll get
Yakuza
there.
influencer money,
I'll
and then
get
get that to be the thing that gets you the new TV.
I think I have to win fist fights, and then I find yen on the floor, and
Right.
if I get enough of that, then I can use that to buy a TV. So,
What was the name of that? What was the name of that shop, Jeff? Remember when Khalif? Have you ever been to Japan?
No, I'm dying to go to Japan.
What was the name? Remember there was all those electronic shops.
Are you talking about Don? Oh, Yodobashi Camera?
Yeah, Yodobashi.
Like
That's
the one
what
where
I'm
people
talking-
always went.
Yes.
You go there, and it's like every electronic you could possibly imagine. It's
And
like,
by the
you
way,
know,
and
there's
some
many
you couldn't
fridges in
even
the world.
imagine, right?
Yeah, also true. Just tremendously, like I'm trying to even just think, like when you go to like Best Buy, you know, they've got a lot of TVs and they've got,
Yeah.
you know, refrigerator. They've got a number of appliances. Just imagine like if they had like 5 times more of each type of thing,
And,
like to
and
the
all
smallest size
and
as
vertical.
possible.
Like remember that they were always everything kind of went up
Wow.
1, 2, 3,
Yeah, like
4,
8
5 floors.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh,
Don Quixote, which is like a strange, like a store that just has like a lot of bizarre stuff. I can't even think of an equivalent. Like maybe if like Party City met grocery outlet. I don't even know. Like that would be Don Quixote. And they actually put those in the game. And you can actually like walk through it. They replicate them it's really cool. It's really cool. I miss Japan so
That's
much.
fantastic.
So you have to go when you get the chance.
Yodobashi. I
dying.
love that place. It was just heaven, right? It was just they had so much, and it's funny, Khalif. You know, you go into Best Buy, like, hey, I need X, Y, or Z, and they have 1 or
Yeah.
2 of these things. Like Yodobashi would have like 12 different versions of something, and you're like, I don't even know what's going on. So
There's a lot of stuff you look at, like, I don't even know what that does, but it looks cool.
that was the place that, if I remember correctly, Jeff, you know, I don't know if you're aware of this, Khalif, but Jeff and I are big fans of Japanese electronic toilets, the washlets, and that's the first.
Yes.
I believe it's the first place I bought mine was in Yodobashi in Japan.
Did you?
Yeah,
I love it.
so
You're ahead of the curve.
That's awesome.
that's the way to do it. Anyway, sorry, I did mean to get sidetracked there. You got some more news for us, right, Jeff?
No, I think that let's call it there. $2.99. Get your Titanfall 2, I should say.
$2.99.
You got to play that.
Yeah, that campaign is fantastic.
Yeah, and with the newest addition to Apex, she is right out of Titanfall lore.
Yep.
It all takes place in the same universe, and I was reading there was like a huge spike in the amount of people playing Titanfall 2 afterwards because the new character Valkyrie, who's voiced, I believe, by Erika Ishii, is really cool character, by the way. Maybe OP. We'll see if they nerf her because
I think I was reading
around is so much fun.
I think I was reading on Twitter, someone from Respawn already tweeted they were going to. Maybe I misread this or misremembered, or dreamt it.
Yeah,
they're definitely gotta
she's so
tweak
mobile,
Valkyrie a
she
little
can go
bit.
over.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
But until then, enjoy it.
anyway, well, we should probably wrap up here because I know we've got to go to meetings. Khalif, you've got to get. Khalif, tell us again where folks can find you so that they can enjoy more of what you offer.
Well, first, again, thank you so much for having me again. This is a blast. Please, I would love to come back and rock with you all again because this was so much fun. You can check out Spawn on Me on any podcast platform. We're also on Twitch. We do our live show Wednesday evenings around 6 p.m. PST
Great.
at twitch.tv/Spawn on Me. I do a bunch of other shows. I've hosted a whole bunch of things. I was hosting DICE early this year. Hosted Games Beat Summit as well, so doing more hosting as well in the space for the industry. And yeah, again, like come through and come hang out with all of us in Chicago, our lovely faux place that we have our show, because we love to have fantastic conversations that are full of good, nuanced thoughts, which is a thing that we hope to see more of on the internet. So again, thank you all for having me, and we hope to all see you soon, where we all rocking here and Spawn on Me.
Well, Khalif, as our very first guest co-host, we could not have chosen a better one. So I want to, on behalf of everybody at Xbox, I want to thank you for joining us, and thank you for all your support over the recently. And I know you're going to do a lot more in the future. That's why you've got that refrigerator in the background there. That is a refrigerator. But yeah, really appreciate you coming on. We're big fans over here, and you can definitely come back on anytime you want. I'm looking forward to seeing what you think of. We're only a month away from E3. Just gonna say. So.
No, I'm saying we have lots of stuff to talk about.
And you and I remember you and I off the air were talking about that. Was one of the first times we met. You got me. You and I were chatting, coming out of an old Microsoft briefing you had attended, right?
Yeah. We were coming out of the briefing, and I was like, Larry, wait a second, let me see if we can snag you for some thoughts. And you were kind enough to jump on with a really quick interview with us. And again, thank you for that, because again, the thing I love about what you all are doing here is that you're constantly kind of connecting to all of us in the community and pulling up podcasters, pulling up streamers, and pulling up content creators to work alongside you all to kind of share the good things that are happening at Xbox land. So it means a lot to me as a person in the space to be able to do that. And it's really great because our community loves when we do the shows like that. So it's been fantastic.
Well, I got to thank you very much. Thank you for the kind words. And I have to tell you, you know, Phil Spencer, and I know you've talked to Phil before. He is, you know, he always talks about gamers at the center, and Jeff and I and a lot of people at Xbox are gamers. But at the end of the day, you know, to your point, there's a huge community, and we want to bring you all in here. And the best way is like having conversations like this and all the great work you do, and get you on the shows and just chatting with you, because we just want to make great games and make sure people are having fun wherever they are.
Yeah, and you're doing a fantastic job. I'm going to sign up for the Fan Fest myself. See if I can get in there and see what's going on, because I'm curious and excited to see what's going to be happening.
All right, any final words before we go, Jeff? I'll let Khalif have the last words.
I'd just say make sure you sub to Spawn on Me. Really excellent conversation. This is junk food. This show. You know, we just talk about crap, but if the 5-course meal of sophistication that you're going to find on Spawn on Me, and it's you have a great I would say niche within the gaming community, and holding conversations that need to be held. Yeah. And so thank you for that.
All right. Well, we're going to let everybody go. Khalif, any final words before I let you get back to your show?
Yeah, don't eat Paris's food. That's terrible. Don't do it. Make sure you don't do that, because you'll lose gamer score if you do.
Okay.
And also,
that's been medically proven, by the way. That's been medically proven.
Oh, absolutely. At least 7 out of 10 doctors have said this online somewhere. So again, thank you all for having me. And again, you know, check out our show. We try to do something very special and different in the industry, and we hope that you all will come along with us for the ride. So thanks again.
All right. We'll get you on again soon. Thanks again, Khalif. Jeff, we'll see you next week. Bye-bye, everybody.